Hey guys, happy Friday. Today is Friday. It's Ted Bogert back with the TED Show. And we are back with our series Leadership Corner with the one and only Marion Weiler. Hey Marion, good morning.
Hey,
Or
Ted.
afternoon. It's afternoon. My bad.
No, it feels a little bit like the morning. It's afternoon here too.
I have been a little off on my time this morning. So Marion is with Weiler International. She is a business guru. She's a real estate guru, a mom, a wife, a friend. She does a lot in the community. And so we have this awesome series that she is very kind enough to take over and share all of her insights with us. It's called Leadership Corner. And today we're going to talk about 4 steps to work your business so your business works for you. So I love the topic. Hello, Rose Kemp. And Marion, welcome. Tell them, every time we got to tell a little bit about you, just in case it's the first time somebody's stopping in. So tell the audience a little bit about you.
Yeah, hi, Ted. Hi, everyone. My name is Marion Weiler. I'm the principal at Weiler International, and I work with business teams and management teams on business consulting and business optimization primarily. This topic that we're talking about today really is like a new brainchild of mine. So I'm really excited about, going through that with you, and hopefully, some of you will see that in your business and gain some value there.
Well, I think we do spend a lot of time working on our business in a way that maybe isn't the most productive or impactful way to grow our business and make our business better. We do a lot of these things that we've either seen on social media or the news or read a book, and we're trying to implement 75, 100 different things. And instead of really taking a deep breath and going, all right, what would really work? We just think if we slap enough against the wall, something's going to stick. And I think a lot of us, I'm guilty of it too. I've got too many projects, too many irons in the fire, and I really need to step back and focus. So this topic is timely and perfect. All right, so let's start with it. Let's hit step 1, or I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah. I think to your point, Ted, I think oftentimes we all get confused with being busy versus being productive, right? And I always think back to Tim Ferriss's, like, the 4-hour work week, right? How much of our time is really spent on the things that have an impact or that really make a difference in our business or that speak to what we do best? Because how great would it be if we can actually focus on the things that really we do well and perhaps, get some help in other areas that we don't do so well or that we don't enjoy, or we can really have somebody else do that for us in a cost-effective way, of course, especially right now. Oftentimes that's a big question. And as I said in the beginning, I've generally worked with the management teams and executive teams and helping them on a much larger scale to optimize their business and planning ahead, because you don't want to find yourself in that busy place of we have everything, but we're not true to the brand anymore, or we are, so overwhelmed, we're overworking the employees to the point where it's not working. And when COVID hit, I felt that, I was really thinking to myself, how can I provide some value and perhaps pivot my own strategies, right? Take a page out of that book where we talk about how we can all change our approaches. And as I saw the industries that I've been working in before kind of coming to a screeching halt, that's when that idea was born to really work on something that can help small business owners, but also real estate professionals crisis manage in a way. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I've seen so many small business owners, particularly as businesses in general, we talked briefly about it last time, they are struggling and they have been impacted in a negative way, or they find themselves on a downward turn or trend, and they are unsure how to even turn it around at this point. Or, what I've also heard is they have more expenses than they can handle because the revenue fell off, or, they might not have as much revenue, still some income, but not enough to cover it. And, at times, and we talked about this last time a little bit, sometimes you just want to sit back, you want to wait it out, right? You want to wait until it all is over and then we all surface again. But unfortunately, that is not really a very good strategy, because it's very likely that your business is not going in a positive direction. And when you find yourself in this, we all call it the new normal, right? I don't know if it's even that, but you have to literally proactively go about that and kind of help yourself. But with that being said, oftentimes what you find is you don't know necessarily where to even start. It's a very emotional process. When you had dreams, you had aspirations, this is, your livelihood, and you are tied to this, and now you see it falling apart. So this 4-step program or guide or resource, whatever you want to call it, came out of that crisis in a way. And it's a way that my goal is a way for you to get that guidance without actually hiring a business coach or, going into deep investments, because again, very likely some business owners don't have those resources right now. So the first step to this all is...
Okay, I'm going to make the focus you right now. So the first step is, here we go.
The first step is the mindset. And we talked about this in one of the shows prior, where the how you think about, what is happening in your life, and whether or not you let fear take over or you are in charge of your business, your future, that makes a huge difference. And that's why this first step is so critically important, because you have to proactively and consciously decide that you are taking charge back, and that you are, despite perhaps the anxiety and the fear that you're feeling, that you will look under the hood, you will turn every rock and every stone and proactively manage. And that's almost like the first liberation to come out on the other side and after this process is going through. And there again, what you want to focus on is what you can control. And for those of you that have been with us in the last few times, it is so easy to get drained or carried away by all the news, everything going on. And a lot of these things are situations, circumstances that, we perhaps try to react to, right? But you can't control a lot of them. The only thing you can control is how you deal with it, how you go about it. What are you doing today that can change your future tomorrow? And that's what that first step really is. So you're deciding to take charge. And with that, once you have that proactive decision made, you're starting with a reality check. What is it that you're doing? Or do you have a budget in place? Is this budget out of date? Is it actually reflective of what you're really dealing with? Or, what are your financial health habits? And during good times, it's easy to get away with that. And we all do that. I don't need to point out anybody, because I know that I've done it.
Guilty.
Right? And I think everybody is, and it's not necessarily wrong at that moment, but it's not sustainable, right? So looking at your financial health habits, what are you spending money on, and how much aware are you of what is actually happening in your budget? So, and with that, what needs to be addressed? What is your particular situation and need that you have to look at, which is different for every business owner, for anyone that goes through this program or utilizes this guide? This situation will be different. It might be more complex, less complex. You might be really charged up and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk through this all. I'm going to take charge of this. Or you might be hesitant. And at times you might even want to put it to the side and say, you know what, I don't really want to deal with this. So that's the first critical step that everything else builds upon. And
So
that's
refresh. It's control. Finding out what you can control.
control. It is control.
So I would say that most people will tell you, well, if I control everything, Marion. Of course, it's all out there. I can make it work. And so I'm just going to work myself 24/7 to figure out the answer to every single problem. And I believe what you're saying is that you really have to step back and evaluate what you really, really can change. You can change certain things, but you can't change the government. You can't change politics. You can't change the way we've been shut down and then opened back up. Those are things that you can't change, but how you react to them, how you plan for them, how you deal with them is what you're saying you should focus on.
Yes, exactly. And it's that mindset shift that you're dealing with in the very beginning part of this process. And then as a second step, that's once you've made that decision, yes, I'm going to take care of that versus I'm going to wait it out, or I'm running myself into the ground with 24 hours of work. Really, it's a reflection. And I think, Ted, that's exactly what you were saying here too. It's taking a step back, reflecting and saying, you know what, regardless how I feel, how anxious I might be, how afraid I might be, or you know, sometimes we even overreact because we don't know. And that not knowing creates a certain level of anxiety. And so that's that very first step to proactively move forward. Which brings me to the second step, which is taking inventory of your finances. Because if you don't have a clear understanding, what's your revenue? What's your income? What are your expenses? You don't know what kind of cost cutting you might necessarily need, or what you need to change in that arena, or how sustainable you even are. We always hear, you know, you should have 3 months of emergency funds. But the reality is that a lot of people don't have that. So truly understanding what is happening, what's going out of your credit card every month. And, you know, for some smaller business owners or real estate professionals, depending on what you do, some of the personal finances kind of overlap with the business here somewhat, to say, well, don't just think about the revenue, right? The sales, the commissions, but also think about what could you liquidate if you had to? What would make sense to liquidate? You don't want to realize any kind of loss. Like if you have invested in stock and the stock market is down, that's not necessarily the time you want to sell, because you're realizing a certain loss. But again, this is not a financial advice. This program, by no means, I'm not a financial advisor. It's more of you finding and you discovering what is right for you and your business and in your particular situation. So look at, do you have rental income? Do you have dividends? Do you have any type of assets that in an emergency you could liquidate? So those are the revenue sources that you are looking at, and determining, if I have to, I could liquidate A, B, and C, or I don't have anything to liquidate, in which case you have to get extremely creative to see what are resources, you know, that you can get to. And of course, there are always two sides of that budget, right? There's the revenue, the income, but perhaps what's even just as important are the expenses. And that kind of goes back to what we talked about in the very beginning here. It's, what are your must expenses? You know, when I'm talking to someone and they say, should I pay off my credit card, or, you know, but I'm not really sure how to pay for the groceries. Well, you know, you want to make sure you have, you know, the hierarchies, right? Right. Correct. Shelter, you know, food and those things. But it might sound obvious, but sometimes people that I've been speaking to, they struggle with those decisions. Right now, if you have that luxury to say, you know, your credit cards or whatever expenses you might have, then of course you kind of want to look at what's the most cost, where is the interest, you know, which one makes sense, right?
I also think that people, there's two things. First of all, people don't realize how much stuff gets charged against their credit card every month, because they do these subscriptions. I'm guilty of it, so I can speak to it. They do subscriptions on Facebook, and they have other kinds of subscriptions that come out monthly. So they're little dings, and they don't feel it. And if you add up all of those little dings that you are taking and really evaluate, is this necessary for me right now? Remember, guys, just because you give it up right now doesn't mean you can't go back to it. But if you're having to choose whether or not you're going to have some magazine subscription that you've had for 20 years that's taking $15 a month out, add a few of those together and you're starting to get gas money. You're starting to get more money you can put toward advertising or marketing. So people really need to, when you're talking about that, you're really talking about driving it down, narrowing it down, and really taking a close look. I did it after one of the shows that we did together, and I just looked at what was coming out of my debit card. I probably canceled 6 or 7 things that I didn't even remember that were coming out.
Yeah. And I think we are all guilty of this. This is not something, someone is singled out, or convenience charges. And again, if we are in a great time, I'm certainly guilty of that. Do I really want to wash my own car? No, not really. Right. But if I'm going to think about, if I were in a situation where I decide whether or not I go get groceries for my family, or I might be washing my car, I know what I would pick. So it's different things that kind of go in, and that's an extreme, of course. But even in best scenarios, every time that I looked under the hood, myself and others included, there were things that just popped up that we don't remember, that are there, are not critical. Or if you are, running a team or smaller and you have employees, you might have certain initiatives that you haven't actually looked into whether or not they really have an impact on your business. Do they bring in clients? Are they profitable? Those kinds of things. And so that's the revenue and expenses. They're absolute must-have expenses. And then there are the nice to have. Those you can terminate maybe altogether, or you stop it for a few months. And that alone, understanding what kind of cost cutting do you have to deal with, or what situation are you in, is such a relief. I have to
share an embarrassing one. I had AOL, and I still have my AOL account. And for all you people that don't know America Online, what it stands for, it was one of the original. I was paying $16.99 a month. I don't even want to know how many months I've been paying $16.99 on AOL, probably before all of you were born. That's how long. And there's a free version. Why was I paying for that? Because it was just part of the debit thing that happened every month, and I didn't look at it or think about it. So I think you all would be amazed if you do what Marion says, number 2, and take an inventory of your finances. That means just drill it down. It's okay. We've all done it. We all do things that we look at and we go, I can part ways with that for now. Or, wow, I didn't even know I was spending $16 a month on something I don't even use. Those are amazing words of wisdom from you.
And I shared that last time, where my financial health habits got established was my mom doing the checkbook. And I still do that, where I write down like all the expenses that I have for my business, but also for my personal life. So I have a very good idea of what is coming out every month. So I literally can look at this and say, okay, this can go, this can go, this can go. But you have to go through and establish this one time. And now, if, for no other reason, now is a great time to actually do that.
I agree.
So it gives you so much peace of mind. And I've gone through this exercise myself actually a few times in my life, where I felt, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to be okay, here with this transition, when you're, moving all over really the world in a way. You have to really calculate this out, because it's a big operation. And so I've done this many times now. I feel like I can pull out the old list and, and kind of do it all over. But it is such a liberating feeling to know what you're dealing with.
Great.
And so that's step number 2. Step number 3, once you understand what kind of cost cutting you have to do, you're starting to look at viable solutions. And that's when you start getting innovative. That's where you put your entrepreneurial head back on and you say, okay, what are my services? What are my products? What are my programs? How can I transform them, expand them, be more relevant. And that's also a time when you want to get crystal clear on your ideal client, because perhaps you've been offering something that, you know, was not providing the ultimate value to them. Or maybe you've had too many customers. You wanted to be everything to everybody. And you're wasting a lot of time, resources, money, and you name it. So really getting clear on who are these ideal, most loyal customers, because you want to treat them like gold. They are here not only for support, their repeat business, their referral business. It's getting crystal clear what keeps them up at night. And I'm sure they're dealing with their own sets of challenges, whatever, you know, industry you might be in. So understanding that and then being relevant and providing a solution to this biggest pain point. Again, it's not about 24 hours working. It's about getting clear on what has the most impact and what are these solutions. And, you know, of course, digital, virtual, remote, I mean, we all know it. We've had it now for months, right? Feels like that's kind of our reality that I believe is here to stay. And if you find yourself overwhelmed by all this technology and all of that, think about who do you have in your network that maybe, you know, you can do each other favors or you can get inexpensively, or if you're affiliated, if you are in the real estate world, what does your parent company have? What kind of support system do they have? What tools do they have? So again, this program or this guide goes into a deep dive of you will discover what is true for you, and it will trigger things in your head to say, okay, I could try this, I could try that, or this is how getting focused, laser focused, basically.
Do you agree, or what's your thought process? Let me rephrase that. What's your thought process? Thinking about steps 2 and 3, one of the things that people tend to give up, which I think is a mistake, but you're the pro, so I want to hear your opinion, because guess what, guys, I'm not the pro. So I can learn from anybody, and especially somebody who's smart and who's been through it. A lot of people give up marketing. The first thing they want to cut is their marketing. They don't want to do anymore. They think that if they stop the marketing, that's usually kind of a little bit of a chunk of their budget. And if they stop that, then that's what's going to help the bleeding. And what I have found is it's the opposite. Yeah. One of the worst things you can do is cut all of your marketing and your engagement and your customer relationship building during a time when you are beginning to feel it. You need to in my opinion, you need to figure out other ways, or look at what you're doing and see if there are, like you said, somebody you can barter with, somebody you can work with, some way you can still continue to deliver that. But people give it up. Like I've had people just cut marketing completely. I'm like, why would you do that? So what's your thought?
So listen, I think first off, I don't think giving up marketing is a good idea. Marketing and business development is relevant at any stage, regardless if we're in the middle of a crisis or not. But let me just say to that too, it has to be sensitive. It has to be done in a different way. Say you perhaps have created copy like ahead of time, right? Like months ago, and it's kind of scheduled out for the rest of the year. Take a look at that copy, because you don't want to be tone deaf. You don't want to be somebody that is all about themselves and it's like, look at me and what I can do, and you know, and talking about the features versus the benefits. So you really have to be sensitive. And I believe that sometimes this comes up too because people don't know what to say. Right? They don't want to step into something. They're like, well, maybe, you know, they're struggling or maybe this. So I believe a good measure there is, you know, just keep it sensitive. Whatever messaging you have, and that comes back to your ideal clients. If you understand their pain points, you will know how to communicate with them, because then you can directly speak to those pain points, and then you become a solution. So you're not, marketing sometimes has this negative implication where we feel we're doing something to people, but really you're doing something for people, right? You're solving a problem. And if you're not solving a problem, then we have a bigger problem.
Correct.
So,
I love it.
So I think that's my advice on the marketing side. But even if you do find yourself in step 2 and you say, you know what, I have to, for right now, I need to cut out all my whatever leads, whatever I'm doing. I cannot afford this right now. The bare minimum you can do, you can pick up the phone, you can call your clients, you can go into all the social media groups. You can see what people are talking about. You can see what they're struggling with. You can reach out to them. You can write personal notes. You can let people know you're thinking of them. You can get involved in your community. You can do a million things, but you have to get creative. And there again, you cannot say, I have as one solution that fits every small business owner, which is why I did this in a way where I share what is the component and the module, and then you do the deep dive, you do the discovery, because I can't answer that for you. You have to kind of come up with creative ideas. And is that easy? No, it's not easy. But then what is easy? Anything worthwhile doing hasn't, to me at least. And if anyone is here that it came easy, I'd love to hear how.
I don't think anyone thinks it's easy. If you do, I want to know the answers too. All right. I'm talking too much. I'm asking too many questions. I love this topic. What's number 4? I don't want us to run out of time.
Number 4. Now we're moving out of the crisis mode into something that is literally vital to your sustainable business success, and that's optimizing your business and planning ahead. And by that, I'm talking about, not only optimizing your processes, your systems, and, think about digital here again. If everything you do is print, or there's no digital involvement, then perhaps you're not really engaged with what is happening right now, and it's a time to look for partners or for resources that can help you if you're not really savvy in that arena. But that is the part where you look at what can you focus on, initiatives that have the most impact, right? Kind of builds on the other steps here. What is it that you can cut out the fat, for lack of a better word, right? Not from an expense perspective, but for things that the busyness. We keep ourselves busy, but does it really bring a result? And that's another aha moment to say, okay, well, maybe this initiative sounded wonderful a year ago, but right now it's not relevant. Right now, what we need to do is we need to focus on this, or this you can completely take out because it makes no difference.
Correct.
So that's the optimization, long-term planning, so you know where you want to go. And I always, and I think actually I said that at one of your last shows, you don't get in an airplane and then get surprised where you end up. Right? You don't, maybe some people do that, and maybe for the fun of it. But if you run a business, you have to have an idea. What's your vision? Where's your goal? Where do you want to be a year, 3 years, 5 years from now? Otherwise, you will run yourself into the ground because you are trying to be everything to everybody. And in the end, you're really not a solution to anyone. So that's number 4, which, then that's a longer term kind of endeavor, which goes more into what I've been doing previously, prior, in my prior life, of really looking at the business management aspect and making it sustainable. And that's where transformation happens. And that's where it gets exciting again. Right now, you are out of the crisis mode, and you can literally look at your business and transform your business to a better, more sustainable place.
Well, I love your excitement about it too. That's why I love having these shows, this series, because I think people are trying to go back to basics. And believe it or not, basics aren't the same because it's not the normal. So there's all of this new stuff that you have to figure out. So what might have worked prior to COVID, you've got to tweak. And you really have to evaluate, is that going to work, is what you're saying. I mean, that's really what all 4 steps are. You're really taking a deep breath and stepping back and really evaluating that. And if somebody wants to work with you, consult with you, coach with you, how do they reach out to you, Marion?
On my website, the program is listed on my website, as is other information at weilerinternational.com. But for this audience here and for listening in, I'm going to give you like a special here with this all, because I truly feel that it can make such a difference in so many business owners and small business owners that perhaps cannot afford to work with a business coach, but they're looking for collaboration and they're looking for a business partner. And that's what I am here to really everyone here, what I want to be is a business partner. I'm not interested in a quick sale. I want to help somebody to come from a point A to a point B. And, that truly to me is making a difference. So that's why part of why I'm so excited about it too.
Fantastic. I loved all of it. All right, Marion Weiler with Weiler International. You guys reach out to her. I listed the 4 steps as we were in the comments as we were going. And I also put Marion's website. You can reach out to her there. But of course, I've tagged her in everything. And you can reach out to her just by following the hyperlink. Thank you so much. It was excellent.
Thank you, Ted.
All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Well, I'll be back, but have a great weekend, Marion. We'll see you in maybe 2 weeks, hopefully, with a new exciting episode of Leadership Corner. All right, guys, we'll be back. See you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.